I just visited before we came on air for a bit with my good friend, David Nixon, former BYU great linebacker. He took a little bit of time to catch up with us and wanted to be able to communicate with you. His kids had a basketball game tonight, so he asked if we could just tape it right before the show. So I caught up with him about a half an hour ago, and we're going to go to that right now. And we're going to join Dave Nixon, former BYU great linebacker. Our first guest is our longtime friend and colleague who not only played at BYU and in the National Football League, but also helps explain the game on After Further Review, which begins its 11th season. I can't even believe that, on BYUtv on July 26th. He's also a star on BYUtv's Gameday before and after football games. Also airs on ESPN Plus. It's a pleasure to welcome back David Nixon to the Wise Guys. What's up, Dave?
Hey, feels good, Blaine. It's been a minute since we ended the season, and so it feels good to kind of reconnect here. You know, after the season ends, we kind of all kind of go our ways. There's no more games to cover, so I miss you, man. I miss you big time.
I know. You could do some basketball. You're a basketball guy. You could come do some basketball with us. I'm going to talk to some people because you and I can't be separated this long. It's just not right.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. My basketball skills and my analysis on basketball is a little rough, but I was at the TCU game on Saturday, and man, what a game! This team's insane. We watched them beat Kansas. I was with my little boys watching them beat Kansas at our house. We're chest bumping, fist pumping. I mean, it was insane. Then I went to the game on Saturday, and that was down by 17 and a half to all of a sudden make the run they did in the second half. I mean, God, what a time to be a Cougar fan.
Yeah, so they were down by 12 at Kansas. They're down by 17. Do you like this? Do you like this cardiac kids type thing, or does it drive you nuts?
Well, it's funny because obviously you know that BYU's never out of these games, right? I mean, they can shoot their way back into these games. And so even down at 17 and a half, you're like, well, we shot 8% in the first half from three. They can't get worse than that. And sure enough, in the second half, they came out there with the confidence and the swagger and just started nailing shots. And you knew that they just need to get in some type of rhythm. And it was fun to see Trevin Nell, Jackson Robinson, everyone started to hit those shots and played much better defense. But, man, that arena – I've been to quite a few games there. That was rocking, and it was compared to almost the back in the day when Kawhi Leonard came with San Diego State.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I still don't think anything ever tops that with Jimmer, with Kawhi Leonard when they came, 2 top 10 teams. But the electricity in that arena at the Mary Center on Saturday, it was pretty dang close.
So I'm going to make a comparison here, and it's like I'm just – be with me on this one and just tell me what you think. So I thought about this the other night, and I'm asking you this because I'm going to compare somebody to your brother-in-law, Taysom Hill. So Richie Saunders, like, to me, he's a Taysom Hill kind of basketball guy. Comes into the game, it's like, what do you need me to do? Do you need me to go get 7 boards? Do I need 5 assists? Do I got to knock down some threes? Do I need to defend? Like, you just tell me what to do, and no matter what you ask me to do, I'll be the best guy on the floor at it, and I'll have the most energy. Is that a stretch to say he's like a Taysom Hill kind of a guy?
He's the Swiss Army knife of the basketball team. We'll just call it what it is. Honestly, Blaine, I'm with you. I mean, any loose ball, you know that Richie Saunders is going to be on the ground scrapping for it, right? And as a teammate, you know that he's got your back when it comes to the kind of physical side of things. But listen, the guy's a bona fide playmaker. I mean, he the way he was driving to the hoop and initiating contact, but the same way he can jump out there on the three and hit a nice little three. I mean, the guy's got some skills, and I agree. He kind of comes in and sets the tone and brings kind of a physicality, which sometimes this team lacks a little bit. This basketball team is fun to watch. As a football guy, I love to watch it because that's exactly what you want. That's what I was in high school. If I didn't foul out every game, I was disappointed with myself. So I was a Richie Saunders just coming around, flying around, trying to take guys' heads off. It was funny. Bronco, when he was recruiting me, came to one of my basketball games. And believe me, that game I made it a point to foul out. And after the game, he said he took notice that I used up all 5 of my fouls for sure.
He liked that. I'm sure Bronco liked that. So, well, I thought about it because Taysom, when he was with the Saints, it was like, hey, if I'm not playing quarterback, what do you need me to do? I'll be the best special teams guy you have. I'll be the best tight end you have. I'll be the best running back. Like, I want to play quarterback, but whatever you need. And I kind of feel like Richie has that mentality. And whenever Taysom runs onto the field, it's instant energy. For the fans, for everybody. When Richie Saunders comes into the game, instant energy for his teammates, for the fans. I mean, obviously, Taysom's a freak among freaks in the National Football League, but I thought there was some comparison there, and it's kind of fun to think about that.
No, I think it's a dead-on comparison. And you know what? Taysom's role this year will be interesting. He's got a new OC, a new quarterback coach. He's already met with both of them and had lengthy discussions. And so I know he's excited to return to the Saints and kind of see how they're gonna incorporate him into this new offense. But he's back here in Provo for the offseason now. We get to see more of him. But I think everyone, including himself, are kind of anxious to see what does this new revamped Saints offense look going into next year, and kind of what positions does he play, and kind of what's his role. So it should be a pretty exciting offseason and season for him.
Well, if they don't figure out a way to utilize him, then they make a big mistake. And all of us know it, and all of the fans in New Orleans know it. So he has really established himself as one of the premier and most exciting players in the National Football League. And we're talking football now, right? So Taysom's here working out. The Cougs now are starting off season. They started last Thursday without pads. Today is the first spring practice with full pads. What do you remember from those early workouts back in the day when spring ball started and the first day you put pads on?
You know, it's funny. I'll be honest here. I only participated, I think, in only one spring ball. Usually I was so banged up from the prior season. I had injuries I was dealing with that I didn't participate in all of them. But to be honest, that kind of is the theme for spring ball. It is for the starters, like a guy like Ben Bywater. Like he doesn't need to be out there, right? This is a guy who's proven he knows the defense. He's going to continue to get healthy, but it's for the youngsters. It's for the transfer portal guys that enrolled early. It's for the newcomers, the guys off missions, the guys that redshirted last year. This is their chance to go out and fight for maybe a second team position or a third team. They're trying to fight their way to the depth chart. The starters, there will be some guys, some movement within the starters. But typically in spring ball, you kind of know who your starting 22 are going to be in the fall, especially this year where you had a lot of returners coming back from last year's team. But this time is for those guys to go out there and make a mark and make an impression on the coaches of, hey, I should be a second or third teamer type guy. And then once again, we know with injuries, those second teamers become first teamers real quick. And so the coaches are saying, listen, we got to get these guys reps, get them caught up to speed to make sure they're dialed in and locked in case something happens. And so spring ball was always fun because you got to see some of the younger guys who just got done redshirting or that were on the scout team the prior year. Now they get to go out there and actually play. Now they get to go out there and run their offense or run the defense versus running scout. And so it's kind of a rewarding time for those younger guys to come up and like I said, leave their mark.
I want to tag on to something you mentioned. You said the transfer portal guys. We had Gary Bohannon, the new quarterback, via Baylor, South Florida, now BYU. He was in studio with us a couple weeks ago. He seemed legitimately excited to get spring ball going, and that makes sense for him, right? For him, how important is this spring for him?
I think it's huge. I mean, you talk about the quarterback position having to learn an entire new offense. Spring ball is huge for him. And that's what I said. Transfer portal guys is different, right? If you're trying to be a starter, the transfer portal guys, this is your time to learn the playbook and get valuable reps, especially as a quarterback. Live reps against a defense with guys flying around. Yeah, you need those. And so I'm really anxious for him. I'm anxious for this quarterback room. I think it's a wide open race. And I think if you're the coach, if you're A-Rod, you let the players know it's going to stay open. Frankly, I think you see how it goes all the way through the summer and into fall ball. I don't think there's any reason you need to name a quarterback anytime soon and let this play out because, listen, this is an audition, not for just spring ball and these limited amount of practices. The coaches will be watching during those summer player run practices. Who are the guys showing up? Who are the leaders? Who are the natural-born leaders, the captains who are going to lead these guys out there during player run practices? Who's going to be there every day for off-season, voluntary workouts, right? Who's going to be there? I'm really interested to see which of these guys step up. And I'll tell you what, competition only makes guys better, right? Iron sharpens iron. And I think this is one of those instances where that quarterback room, I'm sure it's very competitive, but those guys at the same time realize, listen, we're all aligned here. We're all trying to win for the same cause, and that's fight for the same cause, and that is to make this team successful. But I'm excited to see how this all plays out. And Gary, man, he has quite the opportunity ahead of him.
Yeah, let's talk about culture a little bit. You talked about the players on their own in the summer. The culture setting kind of starts January 1. As soon as the season's over, everybody's back for school. The transfers that are going to be here are already here. But spring ball, they kind of put the foot on the gas when it comes to creating culture. How important is it? I mean, the defense, this is year 2 of this defense, so they can just start running stuff. They don't have to worry about walking through every assignment like they did last spring, right? So can they focus a little bit more on culture? And how important is culture in the offseason to whether or not you're successful in the fall?
Yeah, culture's huge. It's always interesting because when the season ends, the guys that play on the season still kind of hang around. They kind of clean out their lockers, but they still come around because a lot of them are still trained to go to the NFL, right? And so a lot of them they stay in Provo and they train in Provo. A lot of them go elsewhere as well. So they're still around. But all of a sudden, when the new year rolls around, especially when spring ball rolls around, it's a new team. And it's always interesting to see like who becomes those leaders, those position group leaders. Typically, you have your captains kind of set in stone. The juniors who are major contributors now become seniors. Those are the ones that are expected to be the captains. But then you look at the position groups. You look at offensive line. You've got some departure with Kingsley and others that leave some voids. And so who steps up in that room? And all of a sudden the quarterback room, there's Keaton Slovis leaves, and all of a sudden who's the guy? And so it's really, really interesting to watch. This is the dynamic. You go into weightlifting sessions and you see who's kind of being more vocal and being a leader there. Then you go out on the field and maybe it's a different guy out on the field. But at the end of the day, as a player, you always respect the guys who actually can walk the walk. There's a lot of guys that can talk the talk. But at the end of the day, who are the players who can go out there and actually know their assignment and go out there and perform on the field? And then also can be kind of that rah-rah guy. And so that's where you start to separate it. There's a lot of guys that talk the talk, but then the second you get on the field, they maybe can't quite perform the way they should be. And so that's where the leaders start to kind of come and go. And so you really want to try and find those guys obviously can do both. And that's what spring ball is for. And then lead, like I said, lead into the summertime and lead up to the fall ball.
I'm going to put you on the spot for a to-do list now. This was a 5-7 season last year. That's never acceptable at BYU to not be in a bowl game. Struggles, especially late on the defensive side, really pretty solid early in the year. Some injuries, and they struggled down the stretch a little bit. Really inconsistent play at quarterback once Keaton Slovis got hurt. So those are some things top of my mind. But if you're going to give me 4 things that would be the to-do list for spring ball, what would they be?
Well, I think first and foremost, there's no secret here. It's all about the quarterback play, right? Who will be BYU's guy? And listen, maybe there is a scenario where A-Rod decides to trot out 2 quarterbacks in kind of a dual system. I feel like those never really work that well. But I'll defer to him on that. Mm-hmm. But find out your true quarterback, because I am a believer that you've got to have a single quarterback, a starter that the team can rally around, right? You need the guy to take those number 1 reps against the number 1 defense to get good looks and kind of obviously make him better. So I start with the quarterback room. I'm going to flip-flop. I'll flip-flop between offense and defense. So number 1 is quarterback room.
For so your number 1 D1 is what then?
I mean, my number 1 D1 for me, when you look back at the last season and what BYU really struggled with, yes, they weren't great against the pass rush, but they really struggled stopping the run. And they mostly struggled against stopping the powers and counters. So any type of pulling guards or tackles, BYU really struggled. And we talked about this on AFR, right? And we talked about this on our pre- and post-game shows. BYU opted last year to go with a spill technique. And they just couldn't quite pick it up. You look back at that West Virginia game, the Iowa State game, where every run was for 8 yards plus, and guys just weren't in the right position. So my hope in this offseason is, listen, if you want to stick with the spill technique, fine. I'm fine with that. I played the spill technique. It works if guys are in the right spots. And so if you want to stick with that, I just want them to get valuable reps and have the number 1 offense run some of this to where they understand where their fits are, because you can't go into another season and have games like West Virginia and Iowa State where you get blown out in the run game. We're not even talking about TCU and Texas, but in the run game specifically, where you just couldn't stop them because you weren't in the right positions. Guys weren't filling correctly. You had 2 guys in the wrong gaps, and all of a sudden the running back exploits you. So for me, the second glaring item that I want to see fixed in camp is understanding run fits, specifically against the counters and powers. Okay,
so stop the run, especially the power and counter. Know where you're supposed to be and know those run fits. I'm all in on that one for the D. Okay, now you got another offense.
Now we'll go back to the offside of the ball. And for me, I'm really intrigued this spring ball of seeing how the transition of Keanu Hill goes to tight end.
Oh.
And you watch what happened last year with the time position, started to get a little more utilized than what we've seen in the past. But then you have, Isaac Rex moves on. So now there's a position open in that tight end room. I'm really curious to see how Keanu Hill transitions. I trust the coaches that they're doing the right thing and put him in that position. It sounds like he's added some weight. I'm excited to see him here in spring ball. But I'm really anxious to see if you split him out and with that extra weight and that size that he has, he's a mismatch. And we talk about that all the time. That's how Isaac Rex was. He's a mismatch. But the question is, can he learn the offense? And can he also, if you're a tight end, if you're Keanu Hill, you got to be able to block as well. And so my biggest thing is, can he block? Can you motion him down, put him as a wing, and help Max Pro? And can he actually get the job done? I mean, usually receivers aren't fantastic blockers, But I'm curious to see if they can get him up and going with the tight position and help him understand the scheme and how to protect and how to block and be physical. Man, I mean, what a position change for somebody, because I think he obviously has the intangibles. He has the height. He has the speed. Can he pick up the blocking side of things? Otherwise, he just becomes really another receiver. If all he's going to do is go out for passes, then as a defense, I'm not even going to count him as a tight end. I'll just continue to count him as a wide receiver, and it doesn't really throw the defense for a loop. But if you can get him to block a little bit, then you have to account for him, and that kind of sets a whole new strategy when you approach the offense.
Yeah, you'll. I don't know if you got to see the Connor Pay interview, and for our folks on the chat, if you haven't seen Connor Pay's interview, he talks last week about Keanu, and the thing that was really interesting to me, he said Keanu's body wants to be the tight end size. Like he's been almost like a wrestler, just like having to suck weight to play wide receiver. His body wants to be 245. I thought, that's a good thing. And then he said he was the best wide receiver blocker on the team. So that was positive. And he also said, but he seems to have kept his speed as he put the weight on. And I thought, wow, he just told me 3 good things. So now I'm with you. I'm really anxious to see how that works out. If Connor's right and those 3 things are good, this could be a really dynamic position for BYU. And they have a new tight end coach in Kevin Gilbride that really is going to be forceful with them using that. He's been in the NFL where they utilize tight ends. So that's I've been thinking about that, but I'm glad you brought that up. We'll all be watching for tight end in spring ball and see how they utilize it. That's a good one.
Yeah. I'm excited to see his development for sure.
So you got quarterback play on the offense and tight end play on the offense. You're going to watch really closely. Who's the guy at quarterback? How is this Keanu Hill move going to? You got stop the run and run fits against the power and counter. On defense, what's your second defensive one?
I'm going to stick there with the front 7, and I'm going to specifically outline the linebackers. And the reason being is, BYU with what's going on with Ben Bywater coming back was a positive indicator. You've also got Jack Kelly coming in. This is one of those transfers that I really think, all signs indicate that he could be one of the dudes on the defense side of the ball. Harrison Taggart coming back, who had valuable minutes last year. I mean, there's a lot of playmakers within that linebacker room. You throw in Raider DeMooney, who I know is playing safety, but he looked good coming down to the box. Mm-hmm. And does he make a transition down? And so for me, that linebacker room, because if you're going to play a spill technique like we saw last year, we just talked about earlier, you got to have linebackers that can scrape and guys that can run and be physical to point of contact. And so for me, it is the development of these linebackers. How does Ben Bywater fit into the mold of things? Taggart, Kelly, et cetera, and kind of who evolves to be the guy, right? I mean, you had years with Max Tooley and others who kind of left their mark on the program. The question is now kind of who takes that torch and can these guys stay healthy? I really feel like Ben Bywater had such a fantastic season going last year and then got bit by the injury bug. And so can these guys stay healthy and can they help that defensive line? Which, by the way, I didn't really touch on this, but that defensive line via the transfer portal and newcomers looks pretty stout. I'm liking the addition.
They brought some monsters in, right? Yeah, monsters.
For years, right? I know we go back for many years saying BYU need to go get depth on that defensive line, and they never quite did it. And finally, this class was a class where they went and got some help. And that front 7 is something that, for me defensively, I'm not worried about the secondary. I know we had, Eddie and Garrett left, but I think BYU will fit in. They had some young corners that will fit in well. You got Micah Harper back, et cetera. But for me, it really starts with that front 7, just kind of how things played out last year defensively. Yeah,
they're deep back there. Hey, one comment on that. I went back and watched some film of this Jack Kelly. Oh, Dave, you're going to love him. Because he is, how we talk about guys like Aaron Francisco. Do you play with Aaron, didn't you? Did you play with Aaron?
I played with Aaron.
When he comes down and hits somebody, it's like, oh, yikes. Like, he's like a pillar of cement going to hit somebody. He's just so dense and thick. When I'm watching him, that's what I think of. He just smacks people. And I know you love linebackers that just hit the you-know-what out of people, right?
Well, and here's the thing about when you get guys that are headed downhill that are willing to just, like you said, smack guys at point of contact, it sets the tone, right? It creates an identity for a defense. And frankly, that was something that was lacking last year. This defense didn't really have an identity, mainly because they were getting gashed game in and game out. And yes, they had some bright spots with the defense. And listen, I know that for a fact that Coach Hill, he needs to get his dues in there. And it's going to take probably another year. I don't know if he'll quite have a system to where he wants it this year. It's probably going to take him at least another year to get his guys in here into his system. And I'm confident when he does have all his guys there, they'll be rolling. But I like the steps that were made this offseason and bringing in the portal guys, that they finally had time to go out there and look at who they needed. They assessed their needs, and they were able to address those with the portal guys and with the newcomers. And, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for this defense. But that front seven specifically, they've got to be more stout because Big 12, they're going to go back and watch this film, all the teams they play, and they're going to say, listen, let's try to exploit them with the run game. And if BYU can kind of stop that from the get-go, man, it makes the other team one-dimensional and gives them a shot.
Yeah, I like your takes on your to-do list. Those are great. Hey, former Cougar and current BYUtv football analyst Dave Nixon on the Wise Guys live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com with me tonight. The alumni game's coming up, March 22nd. Are you playing in this thing?
So I am. I actually have a newborn child coming next Wednesday.
Yes, let's talk about both of them. Let's talk about both of those things.
Yeah,
then, right.
So I am going to play in it. I actually recruited Craig Bills, my brother-in-law, this year. I was going to recruit Taysom, my other brother-in-law, but I figured he probably needs to focus on just getting healthy.
If he got hurt at this, you would be in big trouble. So.
Yeah, I'll stay away from that one. So Craig's going to come. I'm going to try to play. I don't know how much working out I'll be getting in the next few weeks after my baby comes. So I might be coming in a little raw. I might take some reps off and just kind of help coach from the sideline. We'll see what happens. I'll be a game time decision on that. But yeah, it should be fun. Listen, it's a fun time of the year, the Alumni Day, bringing back all alumni. And this alumni game has been a blast. In fact, we're already on a text thread, and everybody's on the same text thread. So between
both teams, right? Who are some of the guys? Throw out a few names so people can get excited about this.
Well, you've got Max, who's coming back.
Oh yeah, back from the Achilles. Yeah.
We got James Lark. We got Ben Criddle, of course. Criddle's going to run his mouth on the thread.
Oh,
We've already got some
of course.
Going. Curtis Brown, as I mentioned. You've got Craig Bills. Man, you got some of the older guys that have come back, Charlie Peterson and others. So it's going to be fun. Brian Keel, of course. After you catch the Hail Mary win, you're automatically a lifetime player in this game. So
you guys need to recruit Kellen to come out, because poor Gavin last year. He's coaching, and he had to kind of come off the coaching bench to come play because we didn't have enough safeties back there, and had to go make a bunch of plays.
Yeah, we need Kellen. Yeah. Listen, tell him to talk to Jack DeMooney, who sets this all up.
Yep, I'll talk to him.
Tell him to get Kellen. I need him back, my free safety, so my strong safety, so we can kind of go back to
your calls. You can make all your calls like you.
All my calls, my checks, everything. It was nice to have Kellen. He's my little cozy comfort blanket behind me, looking at all those checks for me.
Okay, now let's go to the most important thing. You're expecting your fourth child. How's Jesse doing? And you know that this is a boy, right?
Yep. So another boy.
So tell us what are we expecting? How's everybody doing? And do we have a name yet?
We're excited. She's at the point where she's ready to just have this little guy come out. We still don't have a name picked, so all you listeners out there, if you want to submit some names,
some names for the Nixon baby boy on chat, please do it. We'll
throw it on the chat.
We'll forward it all.
Whatever you want. We need some suggestions. We are. I want to go maybe kind of like initials. I want to incorporate my dad's middle name into my son's middle name, which is Johnson. So I love DJ or AJ. I kind of had a little fix on the initials. My wife didn't love it, so we're back to ground zero here. But
hey, our technical director is DJ, and he's awesome. So you can name after DJ.
DJ's a strong name.
Yes,
I like that. My firstborn, I gave him my name as his middle name, Nathan David.
There you go.
I don't want to give too many kids my name. That's a little egotistical there. But any help, I much appreciate. We're kind of at a point where we're not sure where we're going with this little guy's name, but we're excited. This is our fourth and last, and so we're going to enjoy the moment, and we're excited to meet him next Wednesday. We've got it all scheduled and ready to go.
So last, and I'm going to get you going because you came on early with us so that you could go catch your son's basketball game. Last question, and you can do it quickly, but I want you to wax philosophical here. How did football prepare you for this, to be a dad, to be a father and a husband, and have 4 kids now? What did football do to prepare you for that?
I mean, there's so many parallels here. I mean, I think one of the biggest things is just juggling things, right? As a father, we're all, I say we, I'm talking to the whole audience, all of us. You're trying to juggle work, you're trying to juggle church duties, you're trying to juggle your family. And that's how it was at football. Football, you still had school you had to worry about and juggle that. You still had your personal life, you had to juggle that. And football, I think beyond that, just the team camaraderie and the aspect that you're fighting together as a team is the same thing as a family, right? As a family, you're solidified together at this common goal, this common belief, which is to succeed, right? And it's the same thing with football. Football, you're out there as a team, a unit, your brotherhood, right? We call it the band of brothers. And it truly is that. And we see that now at the alumni game. These band of brothers, these are guys who I played with almost 15 years ago that are coming back, and we get to enjoy this time together. It's because we shared that common bond. That's the same thing as a father. You have these little guys, these little kids that depend and rely on you, and you share that common bond where you're just trying to do your best every day. And so fatherhood and football go hand in hand. And it's I got my little guys playing football.
Yes.
They're playing tackle football as well. And so it's been fun to kind of get back to them and see them enjoy it, and it's been a blast.
The life is full circle. Well said, Dave. We appreciate you so much. Get off and go. Which boy's playing tonight?
I got both of them playing.
Oh, okay.
So I got my 10-year-old and my 8-year-old both playing here in just a little bit. So I'm gonna go try to catch both their games. So always fun jumping on with you guys.
We always love you coming on and throwing a little wisdom our way. We appreciate it. We'll see you at the alumni game. And again, when we kick off the season in July for our 11th season of After Further Review. Thanks so much, Dave. We'll see you.
Always fun. Thanks.